Hello and welcome back to Transformation Tuesday. It's Chris Jackson here, and I'm here to teach you all about and share with you the best of what I know around the secret to increasing your confidence. So this is something that I get a lot of questions from my clients about. I get a lot of comments at my workshops. This is something that comes up all the time. So it's a pleasure here to unpack just how do we boost our confidence? How do we increase our confidence? How do we master our confidence through all the different dimensions of our life in some really pragmatic, practical ways. So before we begin, I just want to share with you that I haven't always been incredibly confident. I certainly have been confident in some areas of my life, and other areas I haven't been confident at all. So I want to share with you as well as we go through this journey a little bit about how I've cultivated confidence, some strategies, some tools around how you can also do the same. And the great thing, or the great truth that I like to remind everyone about, is that confidence is not some ability that some people have and some people don't. Hey Heidi, good to see you here. How are you? Confidence is a skill. It's a skill, and I'm going to go into this in great depth tonight and unpack this for you in terms of how to understand confidence so you can actually be confident. Because if you don't understand it, you can't be it. So I'm going to explain it and share with you some really simple ways of understanding this. And when you get this concept, you can actually hack your confidence in the same way you'd hack any other skill, just like driving a car or playing an instrument. So it's really powerful tools, knowledge, and awarenesses that you're going to gain from tonight. So first of all, let's take a look at what do we even mean when we're talking about confidence. Well, what I'm referring to first of all, start with the definition from the internet, right, which is one definition, but I'm going to split that into a really powerful, succinct combination of concepts for you to understand. The definition of confidence is a feeling or belief that one can have faith or rely on someone or something. So I'll say that again because this is really important. Confidence is a feeling or a belief, so two different concepts here. It's a feeling, which is an emotion, or a belief, which is a sense of what we believe to be true, that one can have faith or rely on someone or something. So straight away we can see, straight away from this definition, we know that it's an emotion, but it's also a belief system. So these two things come together in this incredible tapestry of mastering confidence. So first of all, we've got to ask the question, well, why are we even bothering with this conversation in the first place? Why be more confident? Why does this conversation even matter? Well, the thing about confidence is that it determines so much of the performance about how we show up in life. Our confidence determines how well we take action, how well we execute. Sometimes it's an unconscious performance enhancement drug, if you like, that helps us get the best out of ourselves. So the benefits of confidence are better decision-making, quicker action, higher quality decisions and choices. So when you're in an emotional state of confidence, you can make choices that far exceed when you're in a lower state or in a lower mood. So it's important to recognize from accessing intuition, accessing decision-making strategies, accessing our higher self, being truly connected. When we're in a state of confidence, we're unlocking something deeper within ourselves that we wouldn't get access to. Great to see you here, Mike. I'm good, thanks, buddy. So that's a little bit about why we're actually having this conversation in the first place. As well as, when you're more confident, you're more likely to try things. You're more likely to do things. You're more likely to explore, to experiment, to override the temporary limiting beliefs and the temporary limitations that you've got in front of you, to override the fears. So confidence is almost like an override switch. Now, for those of you that have ever played computer games before, if you've ever played Mario or any of these computer game character games, when your character actually gets the mushroom or it gets a star, it's like it gets invincibility. Well, confidence is like the same thing for your computer character. Instead of your computer character getting it, you get it, which means that you're invincible. It's like you tap into some sort of superpower within you. So a powerful emotional state to tap into that helps you override any of the baddies, any of the bad guys. Hey Jade, welcome. Good to have you here. So we're starting to build a picture around, okay, it helps decision making, it helps make better choices, it helps activate our intuition, it helps us take action in the face of fear, so it helps with courage. There's so many different elements that confidence actually plugs into that helps us activate all the different areas of our life. So I didn't always used to be comfortable or confident as public speaking. Like the very first video, if you guys go back to the very first video that I did online, I kind of bombed out. I kind of sucked. And it wasn't that I didn't have the potential to be good at speaking or good at communicating. It's just that in the moment, I didn't have a lot of confidence. Now, again, it's an emotion as well as a belief system. But the point I'm making is that the skill set that I've now cultivated and developing, anyone can do that. So it's not like a lot of the skills that we're talking about mastering are unique to a lot of people. Like, for example, public speaking. I think the stats are that, and you guys have probably heard this before as well, that people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. Right? So we've got to look at, right, well, what's going on there? Because public speaking is just a skill. We can all speak. You can speak well to your partner. You can speak well to your pot plant. You can speak well to anyone in your life. But all of a sudden, if you put you on a stage in front of people or in front of a live video like this, I'm now freaking out. But it's the same skill set. So what's going on? In our mind, we've gone from, well, you can confidently communicate to someone in your life. But then if you put you in front of people, what's just happened? What's been activated? And that's what I want to dive into is, good evening, Rod, good to see you here. What I want to dive into is understanding, well, what's just happened? Because we're using the same skill set, but we're put in a different context or a different location, different time, different test, and all of a sudden we go from confidence to fear or doubt. So I want to unpack that for you to understand, how does that actually happen? So really the best way to understand this is that, as I said before, confidence is the emotion, it's the feeling, but it's also the belief. So it's these two forces that are going on at the same time, and they're very much complementary forces. So yes, you've probably heard about the example, or you've probably heard about the confidence-competence loop. And this is something I want to talk into. Yes, you could certainly be incredibly confident and have no competence. An example of that could be you're about to do brain surgery on someone. Now, you could be incredibly confident because you've just got yourself into an emotional state where you think, look, I can nail this. But in terms of your competence, maybe you have no idea how to do it, right? But what you've done is emotionally, you've hacked your experience. You've hacked your experience emotionally, so you have the emotional confidence, but not the actual competence in terms of ability. So that's another phenomenon that happens, which we can, again, the human being is we are so complex, but at the same time, there are so many ways of hacking this machine that we call the human. And one of the key recognitions that we need to come to the awareness of is that, yes, it's feeling plus belief. So I'm going to unpack these concepts for you and go through this so you can actually have a step-by-step approach on how do you actually upgrade both of these, because you might have the feeling of confidence, but not the competence, or vice versa. You might have the competency, like you know you can actually do something, like you can actually speak, right? But the emotion might be of fear or doubt, even though you have got the confidence. All right, so and let me know if you guys can resonate with, there's probably certain things that you can do very, very well, that you've done them so many times, hundreds of times. Now, some of those things you'll be very, very confident at. Sometimes you might be in a state of fear or doubt. So again, that would be an example of, well, maybe your emotions are actually confusing you. Maybe your emotions aren't representative of the degree of aptitude or ability that you've got. So this is a key distinction that we need to be aware of. Is our fear and our ego and our mind playing tricks on us? Or actually, do we have some sort of justification for not having confidence based on our ability? Now, these are all conversations that we've got to have. So really, when I'm talking about this feeling of confidence, what I'm talking about is it's your emotional state. Your feeling is your emotional state, which is the sum total of everything you're doing inside of you that's generating either a feeling of confidence or a feeling of self-doubt. Now, that's your emotion. So that's the first step. We need to have an acknowledgement of, well, it's just emotion. Confidence is simply emotion. To take it to the next level, to see, well, what's generating the emotion, we've now got to link the beliefs that we've got about ourselves, about life, about business, about relationships, about reality. We've now got to create awareness around, rightio, what are the beliefs now? Because those beliefs are evoking the emotion. The beliefs are firing the thoughts, the perspectives, the attitudes. The beliefs are generating the emotion. So that's the first thing to recognize is we observe the emotion, but we've got to go all the way back and go, okay, well, how did I generate that emotion? What was the belief system that has been able to generate that emotion? So what is a belief? Well, it's a degree of knowing. It's a possibility filter. Beliefs are the things that we trust, our convictions that we trust as being true. So we need to take a look at, well, what are the beliefs we've got about ourselves? Do I believe I can do this? Is it possible? Is it likely? Can I handle it? What are you've got to go belief hunting, and you've got to elicit what are the beliefs that you've got in a particular context. So the best way to approach this is, if you're looking at what area you want to be more confident in your life, elicit what your beliefs are about that. And that will tell you how you're generating your confidence. I'll give you an example. If you look at business, and if you say, how am I doing in the context of business? If you look at your beliefs about business, that will probably tell you whether or not you're going to be confident in business or not. Now, if you have beliefs that I'm no good at sales, or sales is sleazy, or I can't be bothered learning marketing, or I'm not a good leader, well, yeah, probably you're not going to be confident in business if you hold on to those belief systems. So we've got to get super clued in to what are the unconscious belief systems that are being fired. So this is a powerful process to go through. So yes, we've got to elicit, do we have beliefs of things like, I can handle it, I've got this, we're all good, I'm going to figure this out? Or have we got beliefs of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, oh, this is pretty scary, I don't know if I can handle it, if it happens and it goes bad, I'm going to be embarrassed, I'm going to feel shame, embarrassment. So we've got to start to contemplate and understand, what are those beliefs that we've got that are generating it all? And it starts with the beliefs. The beliefs generate the thoughts activate the emotions. Now, yes, there are some other complexities, there are some unique scenarios where, particularly if you've got some negative traumatic experiences from your past of things happening, like for example, maybe when you were 5 years old, you got up on stage and started speaking, maybe the whole class laughed at you. Well, that experience potentially is imprinted in your emotional pain body, and every time you think of getting up in public speaking, that emotion comes straight back to you. Now that can be a situation that's happened. Now that happens to a lot of people. That happened to me in a lot of examples in my life. Now we've got to be able to release that emotional experience in order for us to then move forward. Because if we don't release it and get complete on that experience, it's a trauma that we're going to carry with us. It's a trauma that we'll carry with us. So there is a lot of emotional releasing that we need to release in order to become confident. And that's probably a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother episode. But ultimately, it's a combination of memories, decisions, emotional experiences. There's so many things that come into play when it comes to confidence, and we've got to elicit all these different categories. And so I've just given you some ones there. There's memories. So if we've got past traumatic memories where we're limited, that's going to affect us. If we have negative emotions, where when we think of that experience, we straight away feel the negative emotion, well, that's got to be something we've got to deal with. If we have negative recurring thoughts, that's something we've got to deal with. If we have negative reference points from our past where things didn't go well, then we've got to be aware of, well, look, the past doesn't equal the future. What beliefs have I got around my past equaling my future? Because we might have a limited number of reference points that are now limiting our future projection of our success into the future. So we've got to become aware of all these things. So fundamentally, we've got two major pillars of confidence. There's two major pillars. The first pillar is, as I said before, it's competence. It's our ability. It's our skill, our knowledge, our experience. It's our talent. It's our decision-making ability. It's our conditioning. So it is us doing strength training, us having education, us having the ability to be masterful at something, to have a sense of certainty in something. So that competence is, I define that as just the degree of certainty of a future projection of ability or competence. So the thing about competence, as I said before, is you could be incredibly competent. You might have done something 1,000 times. Now, generally, if you've done something enough, if you have a competence in something, that would generally mean that you are confident at it. And that's called the confidence-competence loop. The more you do something, the more confident you become, generally, as a rule of thumb. And you can test this, because you can look at anything that you've done in your life, anything that you're not confident at, look at it and say, how many times have you done it? Now, for most of you watching this, the answer will be, well, I haven't done it that many times. So there's a direct correlation between the number of times you do something and the degree of confidence. Now that comes down to your competency, your ability to develop skill, knowledge, and experience in that area. And when you develop enough skill, knowledge, and experience, you're teaching your unconscious mind, you're teaching a whole entire unconscious way of being that This is all good. I've done this so many times before. I've got nothing to worry about. So if you haven't yet developed the competency to feel confident, then that can be one powerful avenue to go back to and say, okay, if I want to be more confident, what are the skills that I've got to learn? What's the skill development I've got to go through? What's the education curriculum I've got to put myself through? What additional experience do I need? Maybe checking in and giving yourself some feedback. What's your talent? What's your ability like in that field? Right? Maybe it's that you got to work on skills training. Maybe you need to go and learn some new talents and abilities. Maybe you need to get better at decision making. Maybe you need to work on your intuition. Maybe you need to work on your emotional intelligence. So these are all the questions that you've got to ask around competency. Because when you refine your competency, that flows through so that you're more confident. Now the thing about this is the second dimension of confidence is self-trust. Now competency, if you like, is a physical ability. Self-trust is an emotional ability. Your self-trust is your ability to believe in yourself. Self-trust is the ability to know that you can handle something. So you can have competency, but not necessarily self-trust. And you can have self-trust, but not necessarily competency. Yes, the two are connected, and yes, they both influence each other, but they're actually two independent pillars that are going on underneath the surface of confidence. So we've got to look at both of these. So the first suggestion I'll give you is definitely work on your competency. You've got to look at all those factors, as I said, skill, talent, knowledge, experience. And I'll go into some strategies on how you can improve those in a second. But let's look at the second pillar, which is self-trust, self-belief. That is your ability to trust yourself. That's your ability to have emotional resilience in the moment to know that you'll handle whatever comes your way. Now, this is made up of belief systems. This is made up of just specific beliefs that you've got about yourself, your life, your ability to handle situations, uncertainty, your ability to just handle whatever comes your way. So this is there are degrees of this as well. So there are degrees of self-trust. There is 100% certainty in our own sense of self, and there's 0%. So there's also a spectrum here of 100% to 0%. So you can actually gauge where you're at in terms of your ability to trust yourself. And yes, it's going to be different in different areas. So you can actually look at your self-trust in the context of business. You can look at self-trust in the context of relationship. You can look at it in terms of finances, health, all sorts of different areas. And that level of self-trust might be different in different areas. And you'll probably find there's a direct correlation to your competency in terms of the skill, knowledge, and experience that you've cultivated over time in that area. So self-trust really is the degree of our ability to know that we can handle whatever is going to happen. We can handle it. Emotionally, we'll handle it. We'll get through it. So it's beliefs like, I am competent. I'm going to handle this. I can get through it. All right. Now, self-trust is just a series of beliefs. That's all it is. Beliefs about self. How well I'm going to manage this. It also comes down to your emotional intelligence, and it comes down to your ability to override your fear. So let's get stuck into how do you actually upgrade self-trust. So let's start with upgrading self-trust. Well, the way that you upgrade self-trust, first of all, is looking at your limiting beliefs. You've got to elicit, what are your limiting beliefs about self? What do you believe about your ability to handle situations? What do you believe about your ability to handle new situations, unfamiliar situations, different types of people, different types of challenges? What's your level of optimism versus pessimism? Do you give yourself the benefit of the doubt? Do you generally say things like, look, let's give it a go, I reckon we can probably do it? Or do you say, oh, no, that's not going to happen? So again, you've got to look at where are you on that spectrum of optimism versus pessimism. Now again, that's a belief system that you've subscribed to. Again, it might be a belief system where you've noticed certain things in the past, certain failures or certain negative emotional experiences, and in that moment you decided, I'm not going to do that again. Like the example I gave you before, someone who's 5 years old who gets up to speak in front of the class and the class laughs at them. That could be a significant emotional event that infuses a belief system such that that person will never ever want to speak on stage again or in front of people. So that would be a limiting belief that it's not safe to speak on stage. It's not safe to communicate. What if I get up and speak and people laugh at me? So that would be a limiting belief that people have got, which has been infused from a previous moment in their life that they've just unconsciously subscribed to and now are living that out. And it's living out because they're not taking action. They're not inspired. They're not actually being the true expression, because they've got like the limiting belief is like a weed in your garden. Now, if you're not aware of these weeds and if you're not pulling them out, they are going to take your garden. So this is the impact of limiting beliefs. They prevent you from taking action. Another way you can improve your self-trust is looking at all of your fears. You've got to take a look at all of the fears that are present in your reality. You've got to look at any limitation that's in your consciousness. Because if you have any limitation whatsoever, any element of fear or resistance, well, that's going to prevent you from taking action. So you have to elicit all of your fears. You have to be aware of the fears. And you've got to be aware of particularly all the irrational fears, the fears that you have nothing to worry about, like the fear of public speaking. What's the worst that can happen? Very minimal, very, very minimal. And so we've got to recognize and we've got to keep our emotional reality in check to understand, have I got sabotaging fears? Have I got fears that are maybe unconscious or maybe even conscious fears that are playing out and they're preventing you from taking action? So that's the key question you've got to ask yourself is, what are your limitations? What are the fears that are holding you back? And you'll have a series of beliefs that are then generating the fears. So again, limiting beliefs and fears, they go hand in hand. They are a combination of interacting forces that are now playing out. So you've got to elicit your limiting beliefs, and you also have to elicit your fears. And you can do that quite simply. The way to elicit your limiting beliefs is you say, well, I want to do blank, insert goal, and then but something. When you use the word but, your unconscious mind will go searching for what the limitation is. Same thing with fears. You can elicit your fears by saying, right, if I could do anything, if you could put yourself out there and do absolutely anything. Now you can imagine doing all sorts of things like public speaking. You're doing thought experiments here of testing out what are the things where you can truly put yourself out there to stretch yourself. And you can identify and you can come up with, well, what are all the things that you feel anxious or fearful of doing? And you can actually preempt through a thought experiment, what are all the things you're afraid of? Yeah. Now I've done this before. I did this with ecstatic jogging. For those of you who haven't heard of ecstatic jogging, I did this the other day down at Scarborough. I went for a jog along the waterfront and I was just dancing to music. Now at the beginning, I kind of felt a little bit silly because I was kind of, my ego was going, oh, these people are going to laugh at you. These people are going to you're going to look silly. Chris, you're going to look like a clown, just you running along the waterfront, just dancing and moving around like an idiot. Well, I loved it. It was fun. And yes, there were some people that laughed at me. Yes, there were some people that high-fived me. And there were some people that were looking at me going, what's this guy? What is that? Now, that's a classic example of fear busting, which some of these fears you can only bust by actually going through and taking action, doing these things. So for me, running along on the waterfront, just dancing, that was another little one of these little 1% fears that I just busted. Now, I've done a lot of dancing in public and stuff like that before, so it wasn't a big deal. It was just like I noticed there was a tiny little 1% bit of restriction or limitation or resistance to me doing that. So I knew I had to do it. So I encourage you, any fear that you've got, create a list of fears and smash through them. Psychologists call it systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization. That's just a fancy word for the more that you do something, you'll break through that fear just by repetition. So that's what I definitely recommend for everyone who's afraid of something. Bust through it. You just simply have to set it as a goal for yourself. So that's a little bit about how to build self-trust. Now, there is so many things you can do to build self-trust. Some other things you can do are to create awareness of what's the language that you're using in your habitual vocabulary. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is start to become aware of the language that you're using. Now, one of the worst words you can ever use is the word try. Oh, you ask someone, are you going to have a go? And they'll go, oh, I'll try. So you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to realize that when you're using words of such a low intensity of confidence, then what is that going to do to your belief system? What does that do to your emotional state? So you have to be aware of all of the language patterns that you're using, because the richness and the confidence of your language patterns will determine your confidence. Now, some people are using all these words unconsciously. They're using words like try when you ask them how they are. Oh, not bad. So these are very, very low confidence words that people aren't even aware of that they're using. But they've been infused in a belief system through all of their upbringing, and they're currently operating on that current version of software right now, which is very disempowering, but they have no awareness of it. So you've got to create awareness of your language patterns, and that will give you a clue as to what the belief systems you have, the limiting beliefs and the fears that you've got around taking action. So very, very powerful awareness to know. Start to become aware of the thoughts, the words, the internal dialogue that's happening in your mind, because it gives you the code for everything that you're doing. Right? All your actions happen. We are a stimulus response machine. All of the thinking that happens inside this machine produces our action. So this is the computation that happens. And then we take action. Now, if we're not taking the action that we want, if we're not getting the results that we want, there's only one place to look. That's look inside of this computer. What's the programming? How is it running? What are the errors? What are the viruses? And so we've got to get really tactical about looking inward and take responsibility for, well, I'm not creating that result because I need a software update. Now, it could be a fear, limiting belief, habit, it could be a warped perspective, it could be a limiting emotion from our past, traumatic experience. It could be any of those. So we've got to go hunting for what is the limitation. Let me flip it now to how do we actually increase the second of the two dimensions, which I spoke about first, which was competency. So as I said, we've got self-trust and we've got competency. These are the two primary dimensions of confidence that are coming together. So when we're looking to improve competency, this is our ability. This is our ability to effectively implement and create results. So this is a combination of our experience, our skill, our knowledge, our talent, our decision making, the mentoring or coaching that we've had. This is all the training that we've been through, the education. This all constitutes our ability. And as I said before, the more that you do something, the more that you repeat something over and over and over again, the more competent you become, which then improves your confidence. It's called the confidence-competence loop. So you want to do something as many as you can. You want to repeat something as many times as you possibly can. If you want to get good at it, do it over and over and over. And as I said before, if you want to think about something if you think about something you're really confident about, now it might be driving a car. How many times have you done that? You've probably done it a lot of times. Yeah, so you're confident at it. Think of anything that you've done, maybe not so often, probably not going to be that confident at it. So there's a direct correlation here between repetition, habit, and conditioning. So this is what we also need to recognize. So when it comes to increasing your competency, you've got to look at, well, what are the areas that you want to be more confident at? And then look at, well, what is the skill, the knowledge, the experience, and the ability that you've got to develop to get more competent? Maybe you need to get a coach. Maybe you need to get a mentor. Maybe you need to take a training program. Maybe you need more education. Maybe you just need to carve out a habit and do something more times. Just repeat it. So if you repeat something, you're naturally going to get better at it. But maybe you need some extra skill or knowledge because you might be repeating something, but on a low level of excellence. Now that would be an example of if you've been doing the same thing over and over and over, but no mentoring, no coaching, no advanced education, well, you're only going to be at an average performance. Whereas if you get some advanced coaching and mentoring, well, you've now elevated your knowledge so you can now improve your skill, which means you now get a higher quality experience, which now means your competency or ability is far superior. So these are the sorts of things we've really got to look into. Now, and when I speak about skill development, I recommend we approach our skill development with a plan. So you've got to have a plan for how do you want to approach getting more competent. You don't just turn up and just randomly try things. I mean, you can do that, but it's a very slow way of doing things. One of the best ways of getting more competent is finding a mentor or a coach who's already got the results that you're looking for and get them to help you unpack it and accelerate it and create that result a hell of a lot faster. So that's one of the ways and one of the strategies I recommend when you're looking at your competency level is have a plan, have some sort of strategy for skill acquisition and getting the experience and the knowledge and the education that you need to get. Because if you haven't got a tactical approach to your education, your skill development, well, it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's not going to happen with the speed and with the impact that you know that it can. So, you might be investing hours and hours into your education, but if you haven't got the right tools or the right strategies, you could be just burning hours and are not being efficient. So that's the other thing you need to look at. So the other elements that I really want to get you to look at really come down to skill, knowledge, and experience, education, mentoring, and coaching. Now, these are by far the most powerful ways you can start to improve your ability and your talent, your skill set, because if you're learning from an expert who's already mastered the area that you're looking to master, they can give you the shortcuts. They can give you the go-wrongs. They can tell you about all the blind spots. They can show you your blind spots so much faster than if you were just going to read a book or consume a program online or just watch videos. So having that access to someone one-on-one who can give you that specialist support, you can radically accelerate your progress, radically. And that's one of the most important things about mentoring and coaching. So something that's really important that I wish I knew probably 10 or 15 years ago. However, it's all good. I know that now. So I now have a lot of mentors and coaches and people in my life that are experts that I go straight to and they give me the download. They say, Chris, this is what you've got to learn. Chris, this is your blind spot. Powerful experience to go through. So just a little bit of a mini recap. What we're talking about here is competency and self-trust. These are the two elements that come together, that get infused together, that are creating what we call confidence. And confidence is an emotion, but it's also a belief. It's a belief about self. So we've got to hack each of these dimensions. We've got to work through it. And I trust that that's unpacked and helped you guys understand a little bit more about confidence, how it's generated, what's actually going on, and some practical tools and ways to actually deal with it. So guys, I'm going to wind it up there because we've hit the half an hour mark. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Mike, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. Good to have you here. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Now, before I go, for those of you that want to follow me on Instagram, please look up Chris Jackson Coaching on Instagram. I'm also obviously here on Facebook. I've got a podcast coming out very, very soon. I've also got a VIP mailing list. So for those of you who want to be part of my mailing list and kept up to date with all the gold nuggets, all these strategies for hacking your life, hacking your business, please jump on chrisjacksoncoaching.com and join the mailing list as well. So thanks again for joining in, guys. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Rod. Pleasure to have you guys here. I look forward to catching up next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we've got how to prioritize. So a couple of weeks back, we were focusing on planning. Well, this is going to plug into that quite nicely because it's going to teach you how do you actually get clear on your priorities? How do you figure out what's truly important? So that's going to add some layers of mastery that a lot of people are going to appreciate. Thanks, Rod. Thanks, Mike. Great to see you guys. As always, lots of love, guys, and I'll see you again next week for Transformation Tuesday. Bye for now.